Hi, and happy Canada Day. I'm Angela Bellegarde, the Indigenous lead for Our Kids Network. I'm pleased to be with you today to share in this very lovely day important to all of us. I am a band member of the Pixies First Nation in Treaty 4 territory. I'm fortunate to have worked in Treaty 7, Treaty 4, and now in Treaty 22 and 23 territory, also the District 1 Spoon territory. I'm pleased to bring Territorial Acknowledgement, but before that, I'd like to turn over to my partner today, Marcus Logan.
Hi everyone, and happy Canada Day on behalf of our CEO at the Oakville Public Library, and I'm the manager of community engagement and development for Oakville Public Library. Also a sitting member of the Oakville Partnership on Truth and Reconciliation, and work very closely with our Halted Learning Lodge and our elders and our knowledge keepers and knowledge holders here in Oakville. And I'm happy to be here with Angela and to talk about the importance of territorial acknowledgements, why we do them and why we need to do them. Thanks, Angela. I wish I was with you on the Moccasin Trail, but we're practicing social distancing, and so I'm sitting in one of my most favorite spots in my backyard. I call it the Fern Garden. So I'm in here in the shade because it's very hot today.
Thanks, Marcus. Great to do this with you. Always a pleasure to have both an Indigenous and a non-Indigenous view today. I'm talking about this very important subject. As Marcus said, I'm out at the trailhead of the Moccasin Trail, and I'd like to acknowledge the town of Oakville and Sherry Sable from Halton Catholic School Board and Stephen Paquette, a Indigenous knowledge leader who were instrumental in making the Moccasin Trail happen. It is such an important thing for all of Canadians, but especially here in Oakville, to come and utilize and to learn more. All along the Moccasin Trail are signposts that provide some instructional teachings about this land and area, the medicines and all that the land around us has to offer. So I'm really pleased to be here bringing Canada Day greetings and also to talk about territorial announcements. So you'll be hearing both from Marcus and myself. We're going to go back and forth over the next couple of minutes just to talk about our two views of territorial announcements and why they're important. Territorial acknowledgements are so important in a way to acknowledge reconciliation here in Canada. When we can name something, we see it. When we see it and acknowledge it, and by naming it, it makes it real. And that is why we want to acknowledge the land that we're living on and who came before and who came after. To me, territorial acknowledgements are a time to really reflect on why we have gathered, what this land means to us, and to really think about the generations past who've been here and the generations who are to come. So it really is, it's not necessarily something that you read off, but it's something to bring us together, to think about and to reflect. And it can change day to day, depending on what's happening. Today, it's a beautiful day. I'm surrounded by the smells of nature, the singing of the birds, but also the reminder that we live in a very modern time with a transport bridge over us, and I can hear the cars going. And often it's time to reflect on what happened in the past and what is happening now. Marcus, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think that I've been so involved with Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit communities for a very long time. I have a family member who is from Whitefish First Nations, and so my son has really opened up, and I do this work as a non-Indigenous person. I do this work and learning and teaching because of him, right? And so when I think about how these lands are a part of him, and how his 7 generations down the road for his children and his grandchildren and their grandchildren, how important it is for us to be able to protect our lands. And I really think that land acknowledgements or territory acknowledgements are and learning about truth and reconciliation and implementing and truth and reconciliation action, as Angela likes to say. It is about action, right? So we have a document, we have recommendations that as a non-Indigenous person, I think it's really up to us, or up to me particularly, to take that up and really work on them. And certainly there's there's one recommendation for Libraries and Archives Canada to respond to, and so we work towards that. But it really is, I really think Angela's right. It's not about just reading a statement. It really is what is behind that statement and what is the work that each organization, each time you acknowledge the territory, acknowledge the land, what does that really mean to the work that you're doing? What does it really mean to the people that you're working with and the people and how you're using this land? When I was asked to do this, I thought, where am I going to do this on my property? And I'm actually sitting on the land. Because I couldn't join Angela, but I really wanted to be connected to the land. And so I'm sitting on the grass in my garden. And I think that's really important, that land acknowledgements and territory acknowledgements are about the land and how we use it, how it provides for us, right? Yeah.
Thanks, Marcus. I appreciate that, the connection to the land. Some of you might have the opportunity to learn about our sacred medicines. And I do have some here today. And prior to taping this, my son and I said a prayer when we offered tobacco to Mother Earth for letting us be here today and to be on this land to do this and bring this to you. And when I'm talking and doing a territorial announcement, because I've been frequently asked lately, is I often get people to look out a window if it's possible, and to really have them stop and think. And you might want to do that now as you're watching this. Look out to nature, and what does it mean to you? Often I'm looking out into my backyard, and I have plants growing there, and I plant my garden to remember people. So I have flowers to remember my father who's passed before us, and I have flowers that signify friends from America who have been part of my life. So when I look out into my garden, I remember those people, and it's very important to me. And so I'd ask you now to go and look out and think about what this land means to you. We are so blessed in Oakville to be part of a region of Canada that is steeped in tons of tradition. How fantastic when I moved here from Treaty 4 territory to learn that we were stopping the Underground Railroad and to learn all about that. This is the traditional land of many people, from the Mighty Métis to the Huron-Wendat to the Mississaugas of the Credit. There is a lot to learn here about all of us who live here, but especially the Indigenous people. As Marcus referred to, the calls to action, there's 94 of them. I encourage you to read them. But again, when we read and we name it, we are acknowledging something. And that really is what the Territorial Acknowledgement is about. It is making it real and making it live. So that's why I am happy to be here and smelling nature and hearing everything, because this is very real to me. And what I would ask you to do is to do some research. Our Kids Network has a great website that will lead you to some resources. The Mississauga of the Credit First Nation also has a great website that talks a lot about the treaty history. I often talk about the fact that we are on the Dish with One Spoon treaty territory, and that is a peace and friendship territory that often we think about when we think about the treaties of the East, and we think about the wampum. And how fantastic that just this past March, the town of Oakville and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation have actually traded wampum. And that really is to signify peace and friendship and to work together to share the land and to be stewards of this land. Being a steward of this land means that we share in all the resources of the land, and that we agree that we will take care of the land and not to corrupt it, not to pollute it. And so that's something to think about when you're thinking about the land as well in this particular time. Marcus, to you, what do you think about that?
I think I love the fact that Oakville has exchanged wampums with the Mississaugas, and it really does speak to the relationship between non-Indigenous and Indigenous folks that occupy our lands here, and it really is up to all of us to take care of this land. I mean, the land, Mother Earth gives us life, right? Water is life, and so we need to protect. We need to protect and steward this land together.
We are really in a unique time. Not only are we dealing with an unprecedented virus pandemic, but there's also some race relations issues that Canadians need to be involved in and thinking about. And that is also, again, about the land and who we are in sharing this land as Canadians. And I encourage you again to read the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action, because they really are about making sure that we build a better Canada for all. And that means that we redress the legacy of the past and that everybody shares in these resources equally. And to look at some of the systemic racism problems of the past and that are still in act, actually, that guide my life as an Indigenous person as well as my children. So again, take some reconciliation action and learn more about not just territorial announcement, but the history of Canada. Territorial announcements are something that have always been part of my life as an Indigenous person, especially as a professional. When Indigenous people meet, we say a prayer of gratitude and we acknowledge whose land that is hosting it. So it could be a thank you to the Treaty 6 chief or elders, or it could be just acknowledging generally the land. The formal territorial announcements is something new, and I really like them, but they have become a bit of a controversy, or people are very scared about what do I say, what do I do? And my view about them, as I've already alluded to and said outright in this, is that one, time to reflect, time to come together, stop the chit chat, clear our minds, think about the land. And it really is time to think about what work we're going to be doing today, celebrating this great nation, and then also really acknowledging those who've gone before us and remembering and hoping that we build a great land for 7 generations at least to come. And with that, I would like to give my territorial acknowledgement today, and then I'll hand it over to Marcus to do his. But I would, at this point, like to acknowledge that we are on the land of many people, that we're on the land of the Métis, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, the Attawandrang, and specifically, I'd like to acknowledge that we're on the land of the Treaty Territory and land of the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation. Thank you, and everybody enjoy their day. Marcus?
Thanks, Angela. I asked to help write and help develop territorial acknowledgements for many organizations, and I always push back a little bit and think about and have them think about and learn about the territory that they're on, as opposed to just writing something that we can read off. And so when I think about territorial acknowledgement, I really think about it's a really personal thing for me as a non-Indigenous person, and what my role is as a non-Indigenous person living on our lands, and how I can help steward that and protect lands for generations to come, particularly for my son and for now all of my friends, such as Angela and her children, and 7 generations. We look, Indigenous folks look forward 7 generations, and we take action now to protect 7 generations to come. And so I really do acknowledge the lands that we're on, the land that I live in, the land that I work in, the land that I play in, as not mine, and as now sharing with our Indigenous folks. And I do everything that I can to protect it, and I acknowledge the stewardship of the Mississaugas. Thanks, Angela.
Thank you, Marcus, and thanks to everybody. Enjoy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day from Oakville Public Library.